the good guys, why then do you and Hillary want to control and
This guy definitely says white. Absolutely.
restrict and limit gun manufacturers, gun owners, and the responsible use of guns and ammunition to the rest of us, the good guys, instead of holding the bad guys accountable for their actions? And Mr. President, if I may, I'd like to use Chicago, your hometown, a city that has some of the strictest gun laws in the nation, a city that for decades and still is under Democratic control, a city that has an outrageous and even embarrassing murder rate as my first example. Why can't we round up these thugs, these drug dealers and gang members, and hold them accountable for their actions, or allow the good people in Chicago access to firearms to protect themselves?
Good. All right. Well, let me, it's a multi-part question, so let me just say a couple things. First of all, the notion that I or Hillary or Democrats or whoever you want to choose are hell-bent on taking away folks' guns is just not true. And I don't care how many times the NRA says it. I'm about to leave office. There have been more guns sold since I've been president than just about any time in U.S. history. There are enough guns for every man, woman, and child in this country. And at no point have I ever proposed confiscating guns from responsible gun owners. So it's just not true. What I have said is precisely what you suggested, which is, why don't we treat this like every other thing that we use? We used to have really bad auto fatality rates. The auto fatality rate has actually dropped precipitously, drastically, since I was a kid. Why is that? We decided we had seatbelt laws. We decided to have manufacturers put airbags in place. We decided to crack down on drunk driving and texting. We decided to redesign roads so that they were less likely to have a car bank. We studied what is causing these fatalities using science and data and evidence, and then we slowly treated it like the public health problem it was, and it got reduced. We are not allowed to do any of that when it comes to guns, because people, if you propose anything, it is suggested that we're trying to wipe away gun rights and impose tyranny and martial law. Do you know that Congress will not allow the Center for Disease Control to study gun violence? They're not allowed to study it, because the notion is that by studying it the same way we do with traffic accidents, somehow that's going to lead to everybody's guns being confiscated. When we talked about background checks, if you buy a car, if you want to get a license, first of all, you got to get a license. You have to take a test. People have to know that you know how to drive. You don't have to do any of that with respect to buying a gun. And when we talked about doing effective background checks, it was resisted, because the notion was we were going to take your guns away. I just came from a meeting today in the Situation Room in which I've got people who we know.
Wait. Is there really a room called the Situation Room? What is the Situation Room? Where is that? What is that? What's going on in there? Is that the one where you have the pictures of them and they're looking at the screen? And it's like, oh shit. Who's allowed in that room? The Situation Room, White House. How is it that rhinos are actual Republicans, but real patriot Republicans are literally Democrats? True. Fuck, that's a good-ass tweet, actually. Thank you. I will be yoinking that. You just paid me to steal your tweet. The Situation Room was an intelligence management complex on the ground floor of the West Wing of the White House. Well, the name suggests it is a single room. It is, in fact, a 5,000 square feet operation suite consisting of a duty watch station and 3 secure conference rooms. God damn. That's a situation complex. Jesus.
Have been on ISIL websites, living here in the United States, U.S. citizens. And we're allowed to put them on the no-fly list when it comes to airlines. But because of the National Rifle Association, I cannot prohibit those people from buying a gun. This is somebody who is a known ISIL sympathizer, and if he wants to walk in to a gun store or a gun show right now and buy as many weapons as ammo as he can, nothing's prohibiting him from doing that, even though the FBI knows who that person is. So, sir, I just have to say respectfully that
these are really bad arguments. Oh man, known ISIL sympathizer, yeah, and this is the United States of America. You can't restrict my right to buy weapons because I support people you don't like. You need stronger ties than that. Also, the no-fly list is a bad example, too, because you could be restricted from flying on airplanes without due process. President?
There is a way for us to have common sense gun laws. There is a way for us to make sure that lawful.
I think expanded background checks and I think red flag laws, I think are like better directions to head for this.
Responsible gun owners like yourself are able to use it for sporting, hunting, protecting yourself. But the only way we're going to do that is if we don't have a situation in which anything that is proposed is viewed as some tyrannical destruction of the Second Amendment. And that's how the issue too often gets framed.
The gun thing. How much of that do you support?
From what I just said, all of it. From what Obama said, probably none of it.
What would well, you know why the Republicans are probably so against it, right? It's obvious.
Because they're
You get-
retarded.
Well,
The best
no.
faith answer is
what's the-
that
yeah.
any type of gun
Yeah.
restriction, give an inch, take a
No.
mile, is could be seen as like a further step into more gun restrictions in the future. So it's better to just categorically oppose them than to allow any small ones to happen. Yeah. But what's your answer?
Well, I think there's two types of not gun confiscation, but not let you buy guns type of thing. The first one is what he was just saying is like you're a known ISIL sympathizer, and we can't stop you from buying guns. So I want you to really think about this for a second before you answer. Do you think that should apply to Mike from PA?
I don't think that should apply to anybody. That's why I said I don't support
Oh,
basically
so you
anything
don't-
that
so you're
Obama
not-
said. I think that's a
okay,
crazy
so
thing.
you-
You have a right to support any
Alright,
foreign
yeah.
government or whatever you want. That's insane.
Okay, so terrorist supporters should be able to buy guns, and then
Hold on. Or
sorry, terrorist sympathizers.
okay, yes, thank you. Yeah, supporter implies like donating money to or something like that. That might be illegal, but yeah.
Okay, well let's say that.
Mhm.
Let's say donating money to Hamas. Do you think they should be able to buy? If you've done that, do you think you should be able to buy guns?
It depends on what the laws are there for that. I imagine there's some type of support or some level of support you can give to certain organizations that would get you either felony charges or something, and then there might be some gun right restrictions going down the road from that. But I think that oh Jesus, but I think that's like a fine. There's probably some types of laws where if you break them, you should be restricted from having firearms for at least a little bit, I guess.
You know, the challenging one is the mental health.
I'm aware. Yep, I
hold on a
know,
second.
because if you do the mental health thing, when he comes back, he's going to say the problem with mental health checks is that if you have this mental health disease, you're not allowed to get a gun, then people aren't going to go in and get advising on mental health stuff because if they get diagnosed, they're going to lose their guns or something. Background check is fundamentally not due process. So to support it means you're supporting a non-due process method to prevent someone buying guns. How is that fundamentally not due process? What's the name
All
of
right,
this?
I'm back.
Oh.
Sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
What
what's
were we
that?
bitching about?
I don't know.
I don't either.
Bazed.
Must not have been.
Must
that
have been.
important.
Must have been Bazed.
Yeah. So we got Big Dick on Wednesday. You excited?
I'm so excited. Yeah.
Are you?
Yep. Always.
You've been on their show. Now they're going to be on our show.
Wait, one. It's just one of them, right? Or is Vito coming too? Oh.
The Vito's coming on for another time.
Okay.
Oh, the mental health thing on guns.
Yep.
You probably already knew what it was. Not even that. Not even worth saying. Just you can't do much. It is what it is. I do think they should probably get rid of gun shows. I think.
Maybe. You know what they
I don't
should
think
do? This is what
What?
nobody does that irritates the fuck out of me. This is what people should do. When people talk about preventing gun violence, what they should do is they should say, here is a thing that we're suggesting, and here's how many shootings last year were caused by this particular problem that we're trying to remedy. That would make me care more, I think, and it would be a much better way, I think, to argue against certain types of restrictions. Because people have like all these wacky restrictions. Like how many lives a year are being saved by the silencer like restrictions or licensing, or how many people's lives are
or AR-15s?
yeah, like how many like
very
doesn't
little.
but like because like people talk about like, oh well, there's a school shooting, so we need to have like red flag laws. It's like, okay, but like how many of these school shootings are like a kid took the gun from his dad's safe, or how many of these school shootings, like a 15-year-old doesn't usually have a record of felonies that you can refer to, and they're not being diagnosed with mental illnesses that would make them at risk for doing a school shooting. Like I feel like a lot of times people will suggest these things that wouldn't cover 95% of shootings. I was like, well, what the fuck is even the point of this? I have heard like one thing, I don't have numbers, but I've heard that like doing the time delay, that actually can help. Because when people get ultra triggered, they'll go to a gun store, buy a gun, get it, go home and kill somebody. But if you have like a week waiting period or like a 3-day waiting period, that can help. Like stuff like that I think is okay. But Yeah, all the
How
other
much
rules or restrictions seem really silly. Yeah, go ahead.
how much of gun crime in the US, how much of it is, I guess, what you would call desperation crime versus first degree? So actually, there's three types. Desperation crime, which is like I'm robbing a store, right?
Well, we
Second
consider
type,
that desperation. What do you mean by
I think
desperation?
so. Like you're poor and you want money, type of thing.
Okay.
Um, like so there's that part. How much? So yes, robbing a store would be like you're desperate for money. Obviously, if you're robbing a store, robbing a bank, you're desperate. Um, the second type would be like, I guess, heat of the moment type shit. And then I guess you also include into that maybe first degree stuff as well. So if you had to combine
The
it into
vast,
two
vast, vast
categories,
majority are probably category 3, the desperation crimes, if that's how you define desperation crimes.
I think so as well.
Yeah. Also, the problem with the waiting period is instead of using a gun, they use a knife. Would you rather be stabbed or shot? You would rather be stabbed. I don't know why the like epic Reddit meme of trying to be the contrarian on like getting shot or stabbed is a thing, but you would always rather be stabbed than shot. It is always better to be stabbed than shot. It's a retarded fucking question. Sorry, go ahead.
I agree with you that like, yeah, um, it is the first one. So the question is, if that's the case, what can you do if most gun crime is desperation related? Meaning people that need money, so they're robbing a store or they're doing something that's low income as a result of it. How can you incentivize them to do it? Like an example, this would be a gun buyback. And in the past, I've suggested the idea of stopping, like an insane tax on ammunition, like a literal insane tax, like a bullet tax, um, with like a buyback possible from the government. With the idea being is that you're so desperate that you're about to rob a liquor store and you have a gun with 6 bullets in it. You can either rob that liquor store or you can go sell your 6 bullets to the local police station.
Well,
like
I don't think the
$300.
problem is that like you can't put a huge tax on bullets because nobody would support that in the United States, right? You'd be.
You might have half the public. Might. Do you think you could?
I think doing the huge bullet tax would be worse than some of the more aggressive like gun bans. I think.
How?
Because you're basically making guns inaccessible or inaccessible for almost everybody. What do you mean? How big of a tax are we talking? I'm not going to pay $5 per 9mm to go shoot at a range.
Well, I think that would be a great one actually. Yeah, $5 per bullet. Yeah.
Yeah, but then you're banning guns for 90% of the population. Nobody's shooting.
They're the ones who commit most of the crime, though. No.
But then, at that point, why not just ban guns?
Well, we do that. That's exactly how we treat stuff right now. Machine guns, if you're poor, you don't get to have it.
Most people kill people with pistols, not machine guns.
Hold on. It's not the point I'm making to you. Listen to the point I'm making. Most people can't have a machine gun. You know who can?
Rich people who can afford the license?
Yeah.
Sure, but if you do this bullet tax on every bullet, you've essentially removed the ability for like the vast majority of the population. Not what you keep saying, poor people, but it's basically everybody.
Okay, then you make it. It has to be enough that if you're about to commit a crime, that you would consider selling the bullets first.
Yeah, but the issue is you're trying to set a tax that would be too high for a criminal to want to commit crime to make money, but low enough for somebody who wants to just go to the range and blow through a few hundred rounds shooting at targets. I don't think that middle ground doesn't exist.
Jojo, you're so fucking retarded. I'm sorry that we can't have a fucking conversation without your fucking panties getting in a twist. Like, these people, they think they have it all fucking figured out. I'm sorry, we can't do a discussion? Is that okay with you, sir? Am I interrupting your busy day of being Don Draper, of jerking off in your mom's fucking basement? Shut the fuck up. Sorry.
Yeah. True.
And get banned for 10 minutes.
Oh my God. You got him.
Think about yourself in timeout. Okay, so you don't like it. You don't like paying $5 per 9mm.
Well, I just don't think it would ever be supported. You don't
think? Oh, I mean, Democrats want to get rid of ARs completely, right?
Yeah, and how good have they been at that? They haven't done that. If anything, the gun laws are like rolling back, right?
Well, they're rolling back, I would say, because of Supreme Court rulings, not necessarily because of the public will.
Sure.
The idea is that you could also, they always find ways to frame this shit in a way that's like really sneaky. It's like, hey, we're introducing a new tax on bullets, and every dollar from this tax is going towards kids' education and stopping online, sex trafficking and shit like that. Like you make it, and then you call the bill the like stop killing children bill, and then and anyone who votes against it, you're like, oh, so you're against the stop killing children rule. Really nice.
I think
I mean,
people would
that's like-
easily say, yes, I'm against it, and they would just call it like the bullet ban bill. Republicans would have a different name for it, right?
Yeah, but they would, right? But the idea is, can you get enough Democrats to support it that you could pass it?
No,
then-
I don't think
and
so.
then-
I think that it would. I think that people would be against it because it would be like banning or removing firearms from the vast majority of America, and guns are just a really sensitive issue to push on.
So what do you think the solution is then? I mean, if you look at it objectively, poor people are committing most of the crime. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Laws are there for people who respect laws. Like, any law that you make doesn't really affect me or you because we don't break laws. We go through the bullshit to get it. Like, if I want a machine gun, I'm going to go through the paperwork to go and get a machine gun. People in Chicago who are putting, what the fuck do you call it? On their Glocks. It's like a button, bullet button or some shit. No, not the bullet button. A switch. They put a switch on their Glock, turning it into a machine gun.
Sure.
They don't care about the law. So the law doesn't do shit. So
I mean,
you need a real-
you would do it'd be laws, and then it would be like different types of enforcement mechanisms, I guess, right? So any transfer from legal to illegal, you'd have to punish these harshly. So closing things like the gun show loophole, although I don't even know how much that matters. Like things like that are what you would focus on. So legal people aren't transferring weapons to people illegally as much, and then I don't know, you'd either make penalties harsher for the people committing crime, or you would do other types of, or you would try to combat the issues that are related to why people commit crime, rather than just like fixating on the firearm part. Because by the time they're wanting to acquire a firearm to commit a crime, it might be too late to target the firearm.
First off, we have a chatter who thinks they're an expert in this, so I'd like to chat with them. They're gonna come in Discord, right, Jasha? You're really confident in your views that you have this all solved. Would love to hear it. This guy's got gun violence solved. Did you know that?
Drag.
fucking
You know
cool
what?
is
If
that?
he's in stream disagreements, drag him in.
I'm waiting for him. Come on, Jasha, let's go. Oh, wait, Dr. K owns you? Okay, that's a see you later forever. Anyways, I think the only mechanism that works is a tax, right? Like in Chicago right now, this whole Glock switch thing is an epidemic. Like people are selling them like fucking crazy out there. And that's like, isn't that like a mandatory, insane penalty for having a machine gun? Like that's a federal crime. You have a machine gun that's not registered. That's like some sort of mandatory prison time, I think.
Okay.
It's a big deal. It's like filing the serial number off of your gun type of thing.
Okay.
And people don't give a shit. They do it anyways.
Well, at the point when somebody goes to purchase an illegal firearm, it might be too late then to do anything about it. Like you should have targeted the
Right.
issues before then, right?
So that's why I'm saying the incentive should be that there's always an off ramp if you have a gun, if you have ammunition, that there has to be I mean, if you want to actually solve it in this country, there has to be a way to turn your weapon into money. That's it. That's nothing else matters.
I don't think it's so much that they've got a ton of guns around that they're like, well, fuck, I've got nothing else to do. Might as well go commit crime with my gun. I think these people probably acquire guns to commit crime.
Sure. For some of them. I mean, some of them, I think, as we said, we agree there's desperation in this. If you're poor and you have something you can sell and make money, I think that you would somehow, hopefully, a percentage of these people would instead take the non-illegal, non-put your life in danger path to get money.
Yeah, but then at that
Especially if
point, they're never
yeah.
going to be able to get those guns because the people that would sell them illegally or give them to them illegally, they would just turn in the guns, right?
Well, that's fine. But you would have to, the one thing you would have to do, I think, if you were going to do this, it would have to be a full, complete ban on new weapons and new ammunition being created. And then maybe have some, like, at a range, some type of shit where, you could shoot for cheap while you're at the range, but it was, like, heavily monitored. You can't take it home type of thing. Like, yeah, I think that would be the only way to do it. I don't know how else you solve this problem. Any other law or rule that you make, just it feels like it doesn't matter is where I'm getting at. Like
Yeah, probably
Oh, if
doesn't
you do
affect things that
it,
much. Yeah, I would agree.
yeah, I don't think there's anything you can do aside from creating a financial incentive for people not to have guns. That's it. That is the only thing that would work.
Possibly, yeah.
Um,
But I mean, it's kind of like making laws against like assaulting people to try to stop domestic violence. Like by the time two partners are like beating on each other, it's probably not very much you can do in the way of making laws against assault or battery that are going to help, right? For the gun violence that happens in the United States, the vast majority is related to gang activity or other criminal activity. Like these are the people that you're trying to make laws for. I mean, it's pretty difficult, right?
how much of that, I wonder, do voters care about? Like, I don't mean to be like rude, but like, do Democrats really give a shit about like gangs in Chicago shooting themselves up, or do they only get insane when a kid goes into a supermarket or a school and shoots a bunch of kids? And I think it's the latter. I don't think people really give a fuck about gangs shooting themselves.
I think that if you're national, you probably don't give a fuck because nobody talks about it because who cares? But if you live in those cities, I would be surprised. Like if you go to, Chicago or Baltimore or New York City or whatever, I'm sure the people running for office there are talking a lot about crime. That'd be my guess. It's like I think these are big issues locally, but nationally we just don't talk about it as much because there's not much we can do nationally about it.
Yeah.
True.
Sorry, I'm just arguing with chatters. People get so fucking butthurt about this subject, like even discussing it whatsoever makes people lose their fucking mind.
True.
Like even suggesting anything that could potentially change anything, and people lose their fucking mind as a result of it. And the reason I said bullet button, okay, is in California they do have this thing called a bullet button. It's the cringe ass shit where they're introducing it into the AR-15s, where if you wanted to release the magazine, you had to like have a tool, but then people made it so that you could use the tip of a bullet to like remove the magazine. Like a removable magazine was one of like multiple features. And yeah, the bullet button was born. It's not a thing anymore. Well, I haven't lived in California for 10 years, more than that. So, yeah, okay.